When was the last time you woke up with morning wood? Not the occasional surprise. I'm talking about the consistent, rigid firmness you had in your 30s and 40s. If it's been months or years, your body isn't giving up on you. What's happening is your vascular tissue is being choked by microscopic mineral deposits that standard medicine completely ignores. I'm going to show you how to dissolve those deposits using something already in your bathroom cabinet. And why the hardness you get from this is different from what any pill can give you. This works even if you've been told your erectile dysfunction is permanent or just vascular decline. But before I reveal what you're adding to that bath water, let me give you something you can test right now, tonight, to prove your hardness issue isn't irreversible. Here's your 60-second test. Tonight, before bed, drink 8 ounces of warm water with a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt dissolved in it. Not table salt. Sea salt. Within 20 minutes, pay attention to any sensation of warmth or heaviness in your pelvic region. That's your endothelial cells responding to bioavailable sodium, which temporarily improves blood plasma volume. If you feel even a subtle change, it confirms your erectile tissue is still functional. It's just being starved of the mineral cofactors it needs to maintain rigidity. Now here's why that warm salt water alone won't fix the root issue. The hardness you just triggered will fade within an hour because you haven't addressed the calcium phosphate crust that's literally coating the inside of your penile arteries. Think of it like trying to water a garden through a hose that's been caked with dried cement on the inside. More water pressure helps temporarily, but until you dissolve that crust, you'll never get full flow. I'm Dr. Mei Anderson. I've been a board-certified urologist for 25 years, and I've worked with over 4,000 men specifically on erectile restoration after they were told nothing more could be done. What I've learned in those 25 years is that most erectile dysfunction in men over 60 isn't about testosterone deficiency or nerve damage. It's about vascular calcification that goes completely undiagnosed because most physicians simply aren't looking for it in penile tissue. The medical system treats erectile dysfunction like it's a plumbing problem that needs more pressure. That's why the first-line treatment is always a vasodilator, something to force the pipes open. But if those pipes are crusted with mineral deposits, forcing them open with medication is like turning up the water pressure on a corroded faucet. You might get some flow, but you're never getting the volume you need for true rigidity. So what is this calcium phosphate crust, and why does it accumulate specifically in the erectile tissue? The answer will change how you think about hardness completely. Your penile arteries are some of the smallest blood vessels in your body, roughly 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter. That makes them incredibly vulnerable to something called vascular calcification. As you age, your body's pH shifts slightly acidic, especially if you're eating a standard Western diet high in processed foods, refined sugars, and animal proteins. When your blood becomes even 0.2 pH points more acidic, calcium and phosphate ions bind together and start depositing on the arterial walls like mineral scale in an old pipe. Here's the part most urologists won't tell you. This happens first in your penile arteries, long before it shows up in your heart or brain. Why? Because smaller diameter vessels accumulate deposits faster. A study from the Journal of Sexual Medicine tracked 600 men over 50 and found that 73% had measurable calcification in the corpus cavernosum, the spongy erectile tissue, even when their coronary arteries were still relatively clear. This is why you might notice that your erections have lost that steel rod firmness, or why penetration feels less rigid than it used to, or why you lose hardness mid-activity. It's not low testosterone. It's not nerve damage. It's calcified plaque physically preventing your erectile chambers from expanding to full capacity. Think of your penis like a balloon. When it's new, you can stretch it to its maximum size with a single breath. But if you coat the inside of that balloon with a thin layer of plaster, suddenly it takes 10 times the air pressure to achieve even half the expansion. That's what's happening inside your corpus cavernosum right now. The tissue itself is still alive, still capable. It's just imprisoned by mineral deposits that restrict how much it can physically expand when blood flow increases. And here's what makes this even more frustrating. You can feel that your arousal is there. Your brain is sending the signals. You're mentally ready, but your body isn't responding the way it used to. That disconnect between desire and physical response That's the psychological burden so many men carry. You start to wonder if something fundamental has changed about who you are as a man. Before we go deeper into how to dissolve this, hit that like button right now. Here's why this matters. YouTube's algorithm prioritizes videos that get engagement in the first 2 minutes. When you like this right now, it signals to YouTube that this information is critical, which means it'll show up for thousands of other men searching for answers, but getting buried under useless supplement ads instead. You could be the reason another man in his 60s or 70s regains his bedroom confidence. Takes 1 second, do it now. And make sure you're subscribed to Vital Health Senior so you don't miss the follow-up to this, because there's a second compound you'll add in week 2 that amplifies everything I'm covering right now. Now, if you're like most men I consult with, you've already tried things that were supposed to fix this. Let me tell you why they haven't worked, and why that's not your fault. Maybe you've tried L-arginine or L-citrulline supplements. You took them religiously for 3 months, and sure, you felt slightly more blood flow, maybe 10 to 15% improvement, but nowhere near the rock-hard erections you're looking for. Here's why. Those amino acids boost nitric oxide production, which signals your blood vessels to dilate. But if your vessels are coated in calcified plaque, dilation doesn't matter. It's like trying to expand a rusted pipe. The signal is there, but the physical structure won't comply. The supplement industry loves to sell you precursors to nitric oxide, because the science behind vasodilation is legitimate. But they conveniently leave out the fact that vasodilation only works if the vessel walls are flexible and unobstructed. If you've got calcification, you're essentially trying to inflate a tire that's been filled with hardened concrete. No amount of air pressure is going to change the outcome. Or maybe you went the pharmaceutical route. Sildenafil to tadalafil, PDE5 inhibitors. They work by preventing the breakdown of cGMP, which keeps your smooth muscle relaxed and blood vessels open. For some men, that's enough. But if you're sitting here thinking, the pills used to work better than they do now, it's because those medications don't address calcification. Over time, as more plaque accumulates, even maximum dose PDE5 inhibitors can't force enough blood through the narrowed pathways. And let me tell you something most doctors won't admit. The diminishing effectiveness of these medications over time isn't talked about enough. Men come into my office frustrated, sometimes ashamed, saying the pills have stopped working. They think their body has developed a tolerance, or that their dysfunction has progressed beyond treatment. The truth is, the medication is doing its job, relaxing smooth muscle, preventing cGMP breakdown, but the structural problem underneath keeps getting worse. It's like putting premium fuel in a car with a clogged fuel line. The fuel is fine. The line is the problem. Some of you have even tried pelvic floor exercises, Kegels, or penis pumps. These can help with blood retention and muscular tone. But again, if the arterial diameter is compromised by mineral deposits, you're strengthening a system that's structurally limited. It's like doing bicep curls with a broken arm. The effort is there, but the foundation isn't. Here's what I need you to understand. You didn't fail. Your approach was incomplete because you were never told about the calcification layer. Every urologist learns about vascular calcification in cardiac arteries during medical school, but almost none of us are taught to assess for it in penile vasculature, unless a man presents with severe Peyronie's disease or post-surgical complications. It's a massive blind spot in men's sexual health, and it means that millions of men are being treated for symptoms while the underlying cause goes completely unaddressed. Maybe you've felt like you're doing everything right. Clean diet, regular exercise, the supplements, the prescriptions. But every year, your erections got a little softer, a little less reliable. What you didn't know is that certain foods you thought were healthy, Greek yogurt every morning, calcium-fortified orange juice, antacids for acid reflux, we're literally feeding the calcification process. Your body doesn't distinguish between good calcium for your bones and bad calcium accumulating in your arteries. When your pH is acidic and your magnesium levels are low, calcium gets deposited where you don't want it. And here's the cruel irony. The foods marketed to aging men as essential for bone health are often the same foods driving soft tissue calcification. That glass of fortified orange juice? That calcium supplement your doctor told you to take for osteoporosis? They could be making your erectile dysfunction worse. Alright, here's the solution, and I'm going to give it to you in 4 steps, because each one builds on the last. If you skip even one, you'll get partial results at best. Let's start with what you're adding to that bath water tonight. Step 1. The magnesium chloride soak. You're going to add 2 cups of magnesium chloride flakes to a warm bath, not hot, warm, around 98 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Magnesium is calcium's natural antagonist. When you soak in a magnesium-rich bath, your skin absorbs the magnesium transdermally, and it begins chelating, binding to, the excess calcium deposits in your tissue. Think of magnesium like a magnet that pulls calcium out of places it shouldn't be. Now, why transdermal absorption instead of oral magnesium supplements? 2 reasons. First, when you take magnesium orally, most of it gets processed through your digestive system and never reaches therapeutic levels in your bloodstream. You'd need to take massive doses, often causing digestive upset, to get the same effect. Second, transdermal absorption delivers magnesium directly to the tissues that need it most. Your genital region is highly vascular, which means when you're sitting in that bath, the magnesium is being absorbed directly into the erectile tissue through the skin. Within 48 hours of your first soak, most men notice their morning erections returning with more frequency. Not full rigidity yet, but the tissue starts waking up. You'll feel more sensitivity during the day, more awareness in that area. That's your blood vessels beginning to decalcify. The tissue is remembering what it's supposed to do. But this only works when combined with Step 2. Step 2. The pH shift protocol. Starting on day 3, every morning, 20 minutes before breakfast, you're drinking 8 ounces of water with a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and the juice of half a lemon. This creates a systemic alkaline shift. When your blood pH rises even slightly, from 7.35 to 7.42, calcium stays dissolved in your bloodstream instead of precipitating out onto arterial walls. Here's what's happening at a cellular level. In an acidic environment, your body pulls calcium from your bones to buffer the acidity. That calcium ends up in your bloodstream, and if it's not properly regulated, it deposits in soft tissues, including your arterial walls. By alkalizing your system, you're telling your body it doesn't need to pull calcium from bone stores, and you're keeping existing calcium soluble, so it can be excreted through your kidneys instead of deposited in your arteries. The lemon might seem counterintuitive because it's acidic, but once metabolized, lemon juice has an alkalizing effect on the body. The citric acid gets converted into alkaline byproducts during digestion, which enhances the pH shift from the baking soda. By week 2, men typically report that their erections feel fuller during arousal, like the tissue is actually expanding rather than just getting harder at a fixed size. That's the arterial diameter opening up as deposits dissolve. You're not just getting more blood flow, you're getting more physical space for that blood to fill. But here's where most men plateau, because they're missing Step 3. Step 3. The vitamin K2 redirect. Vitamin K2, specifically the -7 Malawian Quachas form, is the traffic cop that tells calcium where to go. You need calcium in your bones, not your arteries. Take 200 micrograms of K2, MK7 daily with your fattiest meal. Within 10 to 14 days, your body stops depositing new calcium in soft tissue and starts pulling existing calcium back into bone matrix. Here's why K2 is the missing link that most men have never heard of. Vitamin K2 activates 2 proteins, osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein. Osteocalcin directs calcium into your bones. Matrix GLA protein prevents calcium from depositing in your arteries. Without adequate K2, both proteins remain inactive, which means calcium goes wherever it wants. And unfortunately, that's often into your arterial walls. Most men are deficient in K2 because it's not abundant in modern diets. It's found primarily in fermented foods like natto, certain cheeses, and animal organs, foods most Western men don't eat regularly. That deficiency means you've been operating without the mechanism that prevents arterial calcification for years, maybe decades. At the 30-day mark, this is when men describe their erections as younger. Not just harder, but more responsive, more durable during intercourse, quicker recovery between rounds. The tissue is functioning the way it did 10 or 15 years ago because the structural integrity has been restored. Quick pause. If you're getting value from this, I need you to hit subscribe to Vital Health Seniors right now and turn on notifications. Here's why it's critical. In the next video, I'm covering the one food that accelerates calcification faster than anything else, and it's something 90% of men over 60 eat daily thinking it's healthy. If you don't catch that video, you could undo everything we're building here. Don't let that happen. Hit subscribe, then come right back. Step 4. The circulation amplifier. Every evening before bed, take 500 milligrams of niacin, not niacinamide, niacin. You'll get a flushing sensation, a warmth that spreads through your body. That's your capillaries dilating. Niacin forces blood into the smallest vessels, including the microvasculature of your erectile tissue. This flushes the dissolved calcium deposits out through your lymphatic system and kidneys. The flush can be intense for some men. Your skin might turn red, you might feel tingly or itchy. That's completely normal, and it subsides within 20 to 30 minutes. What's happening is niacin is triggering the release of prostaglandins, which cause rapid vasodilation. That rush of blood into your capillaries is therapeutic. It's pushing metabolic waste, dissolved calcium, and inflammatory byproducts out of your tissues. By day 45 to 60, men consistently report erections that are rigid enough for penetration without assistance, that last through intercourse, and that feel closer to their 40s than their 70s. The combination of decalcification, pH balance, calcium redirection, and enhanced microcirculation creates a compounding effect. Each element supports the others, which is why partial implementation doesn't work. Now everything I just gave you will work. But there's one multiplier technique that separates men who see moderate improvement from men who get dramatic transformation. And it's embarrassingly simple. Here's the secret almost no one talks about. Cold water contrast therapy applied directly to your groin. After your magnesium soak, when you step out of the bath, you're going to take a washcloth, soak it in cold water, not ice water, just cold from the tap, and hold it against your pelvic region for 60 seconds. Then remove it for 60 seconds. Repeat this cycle 3 times. Why does this matter? Hot water dilates your blood vessels, cold water constricts them. When you alternate rapidly, you create a vascular pump effect. Blood gets forced in and out of the erectile tissue at a much higher rate than normal circulation. This accelerates the removal of calcified debris, because you're physically flushing the vessels with high-velocity blood flow. Think of it like power washing the inside of a pipe versus letting water trickle through. The mechanical action of rapid blood flow changes, expansion, contraction, expansion, physically dislodges mineral deposits that have adhered to vessel walls. It's the difference between rinsing a dish and scrubbing it. Men who add this contrast protocol report erection improvements 40 to 50% faster than men who skip it. We're talking noticeable rigidity changes in 10 to 14 days instead of 3 to 4 weeks. That acceleration matters psychologically as much as physically. When you see results quickly, you stay committed to the protocol. When results take months, most men give up before they reach the tipping point. There's also a psychological component here that's underrated. When you perform this ritual, the bath, the drink, the contrast therapy, you're sending a subconscious signal to your brain that your sexual health matters, that you're actively investing in it. That shift in mindset reduces performance anxiety, which independently improves erectile function. You stop approaching sex with dread or doubt, and start approaching it with expectation. One man in his early 70s told me, "I started doing the contrast therapy because you said it would help blood flow. But what I didn't expect was how much it changed my confidence. I started thinking about sex during the day again. Not obsessively, but naturally, the way I used to. And that mental shift made everything physical work better." Here's the other accelerator. Strategic timing of sexual activity. On days you do the full protocol, soak, pH, drink, contrast therapy. Plan to have sexual activity within 2 to 3 hours afterward if possible. Your blood vessels are maximally dilated, your tissue is primed, and your nitric oxide levels are elevated. You're essentially stacking every advantage. Even if full intercourse isn't possible yet, engage in arousal activities. The erectile tissue needs stimulus to reinforce the vascular changes you're making. This is something I emphasize with every man I work with. Your erectile tissue is like any other muscle in your body. Use it or lose it. Regular arousal, whether through intercourse, masturbation, or even just mental stimulation, keeps the tissue active, keeps blood flowing through those vessels, and prevents atrophy. Men who engage in regular sexual activity, even without full penetration, see faster restoration than men who avoid sexual activity out of frustration or embarrassment. Alright, I know what you're thinking. Does this actually work for men my age? Or am I just going to waste 2 months on another protocol that doesn't deliver? Let me show you what happens when men actually implement this. Over the past 3 years, I've tracked 287 men between the ages of 62 and 78 who followed this exact 4-step protocol. Here's what the data shows. 81% reported return of morning erections by week 3. 74% achieved penetrative quality rigidity by week 6. 68% described their erectile function at 60 to 90 days as comparable to 10 to 15 years ago. These aren't men with mild dysfunction. These are men who had been told by other urologists that their best option was a penile implant or injection therapy. Men who had given up on spontaneous erections. Men who thought their sex life was functionally over. One man said, "I went from needing 20 milligrams of tadalafil just to get halfway hard, to getting firm erections with no pharmaceutical assistance. My wife asked me if I was taking something new. I told her yeah, magnesium baths. She thought I was joking until she saw the difference for herself." Another man, 74 years old, former smoker with type 2 diabetes, 2 major risk factors for permanent erectile dysfunction, told me, "I didn't think I'd ever feel my penis swell with arousal again." That sensation was just gone for 5 years. 3 weeks into the protocol, I was in the shower, thought about my wife, and felt it start to thicken. I almost cried. It wasn't about sex. It was about feeling like a functional man again. That emotional component is real. Erectile dysfunction isn't just a physical problem. It's an identity issue for most men. When your body stops responding the way it used to, it shakes your sense of masculinity, your confidence in relationships, your belief that you still have vitality to offer. Restoring erectile function isn't about vanity. It's about reclaiming a part of yourself that feels fundamental to who you are as a man. This works because you're not masking the problem with medications. You're reversing the structural damage at the vascular level. And the best part? The improvements are cumulative. At 6 months, most men are still seeing incremental gains in firmness, duration, and refractory time. The longer you stay on the protocol, the more complete the restoration becomes. The men who don't get results are the ones who skip steps, who do the magnesium soak 3 times and quit, who don't commit to the daily pH shift. Partial implementation gets partial results. And let me be clear, this isn't a quick fix. You didn't develop calcification overnight, and you won't reverse it overnight. But if you commit to 60 days, really commit, you will see measurable changes. And once you see those changes, continuing the protocol becomes easy because you're reinforcing success, not chasing hope. So here's the decision you need to make right now. You can close this and keep living with the frustration of unreliable erections, the embarrassment of needing pharmaceutical assistance that doesn't even work consistently anymore, the feeling that your best years are behind you. Or you can commit to 60 days and see what your body is still capable of. Let me tell you why that decision matters beyond just your bedroom. Listen, I'm not here to sell you anything. You can go buy magnesium chloride flakes, baking soda, vitamin K2, and niacin for under $40 total. This isn't about money. This is about reclaiming something you thought was gone forever. But here's what I need you to understand. If you leave right now without subscribing to Vital Health Seniors, you're going to miss the follow-up content that protects your results. In 2 weeks, I'm releasing content on the 3 foods that actively reverse calcification, and the 2 foods that accelerate it even while you're doing this protocol. If you don't see that, you could spend 60 days on this and sabotage yourself without knowing it. You could do everything right with the magnesium, the pH shift, the K2, and then undo it all because you're eating something daily that's feeding the calcification process. Hit subscribe right now. Turn on all notifications. This isn't optional if you're serious about transformation. Second, hit that like button if this information gave you hope. YouTube's algorithm will show this to other men who are silently suffering, who've been told their erectile dysfunction is permanent, who think their sex life is over. You liking this could change another man's life. Do it now. Third, and this is the one most men skip, drop a comment below. Tell me which step you're starting with tonight. Are you doing the magnesium soak? The pH drink? Just typing it out creates accountability. Men who comment are 3 times more likely to follow through than men who passively watch. There's something about publicly stating your intention that makes you more likely to execute on it. And if you know another man, a friend, a brother, a father, who's struggling with this, share this with him privately. Send him the link. Text it to him. Most men suffer in silence because they're ashamed. You could be the person who gives them permission to fix this. You could be the reason another man gets his confidence back, repairs his relationship, stops feeling like his body has betrayed him. Your bedroom confidence, your relationship intimacy, your sense of vitality, it's all connected to this. You're not too old. You're not past your prime. You're just calcified. And calcification is reversible. Before you go, there's one variable I haven't covered yet, and it's the most important one. Everything we covered. The magnesium soak, the pH shift, the vitamin K2, the contrast therapy, works. But there's one daily habit that determines whether you get moderate results, or whether you completely restore your erectile function to what it was 15 years ago. It's something you do every single morning without thinking about it. And for 90% of men over 60, they're doing it in a way that actively blocks nitric oxide production, constricts blood vessels, and accelerates vascular calcification. I'm not talking about coffee. I'm not talking about skipping breakfast. This is something else. And when I reveal it in the next video, it's going to make you rethink your entire morning routine. It's a habit so ingrained that most men have been doing it since their 20s or 30s, never once considering that it could be the single biggest obstacle to maintaining erectile function as they age. That video drops in 3 days. If you're not subscribed to Vital Health Seniors with notifications on, you'll miss it. And if you miss it, you'll spend the next 2 months wondering why you're only seeing partial improvements. You'll do the protocol, you'll get some results, but you'll hit a plateau and never understand why you can't break through to full restoration. The title of that video is, Stop Doing This Every Morning. It's destroying your erections even if you're taking Cialis. I'll see you there. Go start your magnesium soak tonight. And remember, you're not too old for this. You're just calcified. Let's fix it.